top five
What's up,
band,
YouTube?
bands or tours we wish we could have seen. So it could be like a band you've seen, but say you wanted to see them at a different time.
I know exactly what you
Okay.
mean.
All right. Right
And,
on.
and, and mine's going to be really weird, just way like, so yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Okay.
Awesome topic, too.
All right. What you got for number five?
For number five, for me, this one was pretty easy. At first, this was kind of hard. Then when I started, and you'll see what I mean. Like, it's kind of hard to narrow some down. But then I was like, I didn't need to narrow them down. But this one I was very specific with. Um, Chromags and Motorhead in 1986. Um,
Damn.
Age of Quarrel had just come out. That line, well, no, Pete Hines came in to play drums on that tour. So Mackie didn't do that tour playing drums. Pete Hines did. Um, that would have been a fucking rager to see, man. Chrome Mags and Motorhead. It was like in the fall of '86. So yeah, it
Mm.
would have been amazing.
Oh yeah.
And actually, I've heard that I know we talked about last week the We Gotta Know video,
Hmm.
that a lot of the live shit from that was used in that video was footage taken from that tour, like especially in the beginning, like you see a part where Doug, the guitar player, is skateboarding, and Harley and John are in a backstage thing, and that was all uh, I think the first show of that tour, because I think the Cro-Mags drove out to California to meet up with Motorhead to start that. So that's my number five, man. Cro-Mags and
Nice.
Motorhead. Actually, Megadeth was supposed to be on. It was supposed to be Cro-Mags, Megadeth, and Motorhead, and I at least for like the West Coast shows, I think. And I don't know if Megadeth played any of them. They maybe played just a few for some reason. They didn't do them all, or any, or if they did, like I said, it was just the first few maybe. But
Right
yeah,
on.
that's my number five.
Right. So on mine, I didn't. I don't think on any of mine I went and went like an actual like tour, like a package tour. I went with like more of like a certain time, I guess.
Mm-hmm. A
Um
lot of mine are going to be like that also. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like and also it's kind of hard because we've seen so many shows through the years. I've seen pretty much everybody. So on my top
Well,
five,
yeah, like you said, everything for me is pre pre 90s.
yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
my stuff it's bands that like I'm never going to be able to see. You know what I mean? Like cuz it's
Yeah.
or dead or broke up or
Hmm.
whatever. Um so my number 5 I went with Wendell Williams and the Plasmatics.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Because actually, when I was looking up, because I wanted to make sure '86 is the right year with that Cro-Mags Motorhead tour, it looks like when the Wendy Williams band did some shows East Coast on that same tour. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
know she
awesome.
was she was good friends with Lemmy, so I know
Yeah,
they toured together a lot. Like I said, it
yeah,
could have
that.
been any. It could have been Wendy Williams. It could have been Plasmatics. Any tour.
Mhm.
Just I remember hearing them play about them playing in Newport, and it
Oh,
was just
okay.
I just heard it was such a great show. Like she was such a great front woman, man. So good.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I agree. I would like to have seen that at some point also in the '80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right. What you got for number 4?
The number four, I got so I've talked about, this band was one of the bands that when I say, when I really got hooked in like '83, '84, I heard this band played for this on this tour, this album at the Alrosa of all places, because we're from Columbus, and so a lot of people know about the Alrosa Villa that was in Columbus for good reasons, for bad reasons. But
Hmm.
Twisted Sister for Stay Hungry at the
Yep.
fucking Alrosa, man.
That would have been sick. Yeah, for
Could you
sure.
have imagined that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I knew you'd have them. I had them as honorable mention because I knew you'd have it. But yeah, that tour, like yeah, now Rosa, that would have been sick, man.
Yeah.
But
Well, to
that's
your point, anywhere on that tour would have been
yeah,
fucking awesome. But to know you and I have been to the Alrosa 1,000 fucking
yeah.
times. But to know to have seen them there,
I know.
fuck, that would have been so crazy.
I know. I remember I seen Dee Snider's band Widowmaker there.
Hmm.
But yeah, seeing Stay Hungry tour, man, like it would have been so good.
Yeah. Yeah, really would have. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew you'd have that, and it said I had that one too. All right. My number four, I'm going way back. Screaming Jay Hawkins,
Oh, hell yeah.
the OG of shock rock.
Yeah. When I could only imagine when people who had no idea about that dude happened to see him, like how fucking tripped out were people.
I know, especially
You
for that
know,
time.
it
You
was
know,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Like they minds blown. I'm sure people would have walked out, like
yeah.
just like what the fuck is this? But yeah,
They were like out with Alice Cooper, and Alice Cooper was years later. You know, like
sure, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one too, man. That would have been amazing to not know, and then like see it and be
yeah,
like, wow, this is fucking awesome.
I know.
Yeah,
Like I like his music, but just his stage show would have been so fun to see, man. You
I
know.
agree. Yeah, I agree 100%.
All right, what you got for number three?
Well, for number three, this was a specific tour. It was a fall run of dates in late '89. Uh, Junkyard and Dangerous Toys in the fall of '89. That would have been really fucking awesome. I know there is a Junkyard show on YouTube from that run of shows with Dangerous Toys, and it's in Austin,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fucking amazing. To I mean, so much of the stuff we're even talking about. Thank God for YouTube that we can use that time machine to see it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that would have been awesome to see that. I don't know. Do you know, did that come through Columbus? Maybe at the Alrosa with
You said
Junkyard and
89.
Dangerous Toys?
Um, well, see, I remember 89 seeing Dangerous Toys come through with the cult on the Sonic Temple tour.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
only time I remember Dangerous Toys. I mean, I could be wrong, but at that time, you had to be 18 or maybe even 21 to get in Alrosa.
Yeah,
So,
I think with shows like that, I think they did it 18 and over.
yeah. Because I
Yeah,
remember
for like
I was like 20 or something and tried to get in Quiet Riot and I didn't have ID, they wouldn't let me in. But
okay.
anyway, like so it might have been, but since it was Alrosa, I didn't really pay much attention to it. But I did see Dangerous Toys that year.
Oh hell yeah.
It was them, the Called and Bonham.
Okay. Yeah, I remember. I actually do remember that tour happening.
Yeah. Played
So
the
yeah.
Vets.
Okay. Yeah, that makes
My only,
sense.
yeah, my only time seeing the Cult. So that was cool. All right, so
Yeah.
well,
Yeah. What do you got?
okay, I don't know if you were done or not. All right,
Yeah. Yeah. Number
all right. Now,
three
my
for
number
you.
three. This is a band you told me you've seen on some festival before. The Mentors.
Yes. Yes. It was 92. Let me see if that's right. It was either, I'm pretty sure it was 92. It was either 92 or 93 Milwaukee Metal Fest. And I had no clue who the fuck they were. I may have heard the name, but back then, then,
Yeah,
like, but yeah, it was a huge metal fest. They were definitely memorable because a lot of people just weren't into it because it was a
yeah,
metal fest.
yeah.
Um, but it was that early, El Duce, the guitar player who I can't think of who he right now, but
Well, if it was
it,
'92, that was just a couple years before he died. Even.
yeah, it was classic
Yeah,
mentors. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And it was cool. I mean, it was entertaining. Um, but I say a lot of people just because it was a metal fest.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I did have saw the mentors, with El Duce.
yeah. See, that would have been
Yeah,
sick. That's
yeah.
another one. Like I'm not the biggest Mentors fan musically, but like I just their stage show would have been fun to watch, man. I just love that all that shock rock shit, man. You know.
Yeah, and I don't remember doing anything because it was a fest.
Hmm.
And but if it would have been like one of their own shows, I think it
Yeah,
would have been the better experience.
yeah,
But it was cool to say that yeah, I did see them.
yeah. That is cool.
Yeah.
All right, we have for number two.
Well, number two for me is and number one also kind of easy, but Metallica with Cliff. And I know you had mentioned, an era of a band with, never see
Hmm.
because a key person has, died or whatever. But Metallica with Cliff, and I would say on that Ozzy tour that they did in '86, just before he died,
Yeah,
because I think that's when you could have seen all the songs from all the albums at that point.
yeah.
And Master of
That
Puppets was new.
yeah, that
So
tour
yeah,
came here. Yeah, it was here.
yeah. So that's one that another one, uh, on YouTube. There's a bunch of Metallica stuff from that tour. So yeah, that's my number two, man. Metallica with
You
Cliff.
met Rick a few weeks ago. Remember,
Yeah,
he was at that show. He said
that's
Metallica
awesome. Yeah.
blew Ozzy away.
And I can see why a lot of people would have said that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It was such a people were experiencing like that was a newer thing then. Thrash hadn't like really hit people
hmm,
like that yet in '86. I mean,
yeah.
it was going on,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, but it really hadn't, I think,
I think
really.
Metallica is they their following was pretty big at that point, but they weren't mainstream yet.
Hmm.
You know, it's like because I think when Master Puppets came out is when they started blowing up, but they were still like not, like the casual fan wouldn't know them, or just the
Right.
regular metalheads.
Well, that's even a lot of the interviews, like from those guys from that tour. I'll see people are like, how's the Aussie tour going? And they're like, yeah, people are like, did you like it? I don't know. Did you like it? Like they themselves are hearing a lot of that. People like, what's this?
Hmm.
Like to your point, not being mainstream. And
Yeah.
Ozzy was, and I'm not saying that in any sort of
Hmm.
disrespectful way, but
Yeah.
yeah, people seeing that band, like that, maybe only hearing the band name or whatever, but yeah, that would have been some good shit to see, man.
Oh no.
Even
Yeah.
Ozzy, man. I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see Ozzy till like the '90s.
Hmm.
All right. I'm on number two. This shouldn't be a surprise, especially with the rest of my list. Gigi Allen
Oh yeah,
with the
yeah,
Murder Junkies.
yeah. Of
Like I've
course.
seen them. Yeah, I've seen the Murder Junkies. Like in the last 10 years, it wasn't the same, but it was still good. But when Gigi was with Murder Junkies, he was out of control, man. That's when he was so strung out that he didn't give a shit about anything, man. He just went out there and just tore it up. And
Yep.
I had known some people that seen him, like when I was living in Florida, some dudes I hung out with, seen him there, and that was one of the shows where he got arrested within like 10 minutes in, and it's like The stories are so great, man.
They are. Yeah.
I
Yep. I
love to
agree.
see. I'd love to have seen that shit.
Yeah.
Hide in the back though. I don't want to get shit
Or,
on. Or,
or blood or yeah.
yeah, but it'd been fun to watch from afar. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, what you got for number one?
Well, I think my number one might somewhat be predictable, but ACDC with Bond, man. Um, and once again, kind of like with the Cliff scenario, like in '79, just before he died, for the same reason to have heard songs from all the albums up to the point with him, Highway to Hell, they were still torn on that. Um, but to think about it, there's a couple with Bond that I think would have been fun to see. And I talked about one of these in another episode we did where they ACDC had played some kind of corporate thing for like Atlantic Records in Nashville that was for just like corporate people. I don't think it was like a concert.
Mm-hmm.
And none of these fucking people, like even the guy that introduced him like ACDC, power rock. And
Mm-hmm.
like Bon even came out and he was like, quiet, aren't you? Like, like kind of clowning him a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
like, and he was like, oh, we'll change that. And just to have been there and been like, man, that's witty as fuck. And like,
Yeah.
they still played. I'm just like, if they would have played for like, you know, a 10,000 fucking crowd of maniacs.
Yeah.
And the other one was on the Bonfire box set. My favorite ACDC song with Bon is She's Got Balls. Um, and there's a live version from a club that I looked it up. It's in Australia. That's pretty well known. Something called like Bondi something. I don't remember the exact name, but just that the live recording of that song, man, you can just feel like what the energy probably was that night and when I looked that place up, it's like a tiny fucking club.
Damn.
Um, so yeah, ACDC with Bond, man.
That yeah, I didn't think about that. That would have been good. I'm not the biggest ACDC fan, but yeah, seeing what Bond would have been
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
yep. And I know they had played, the Agora before it
Yeah.
was,
Oh yeah.
um,
Good.
a handful of times probably.
Yeah.
So that would have been, because we're Columbus homeboys. So yeah, it would have
Hmm.
been awesome to see him with the Agora.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right. My number one. It's mainly one show that I wish I would have been at. So it's not necessarily the band, but Nirvana on the Unplugged set.
Oh shit. Okay.
I was like, man, like it just, I don't know, like I just think that's one of the greatest like live performances ever. You know what I mean? It just,
Yeah. I've heard you talk about it before. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just the emotions in that, in that shit, man. And like when he's singing, you can tell he's singing from his heart, man, and it's just so good. And it came out at a time of my life when I was, struggling with depression and stuff, and it's like it just, I don't know, just seeing that live, man. It just, just they're chilling in the audience, man. It would have been so good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good pick, man. I mean, not my thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I get totally why you would say it. And yeah, that would have been a very unique thing to have been a
Yeah,
part of.
like I
Yeah.
like to see Nirvana, but that one show is what I wish I could have seen.
Yeah. They did play at Stashes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
And for
know who
those
they
that
were
the
then.
people that watch this, that was a another very underground, hole in the wall type
Yeah,
club here in Columbus, Ohio, on the OSU campus. That was pretty popular in the '80s and even through the early '90s.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think they played there on the Bleach album, didn't they?
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I didn't know who they were yet. So
yeah, yep.
And Bleach came out, I think, '89. So I wouldn't have been
So,
listening to that stuff in '89 anyway.
right, yeah, it was 89 or 90 that I think they played the Stashes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, we got for some honorable mentions.
I got a bunch of those.
Okay, go ahead.
Um, so, well, I could, I could have made a whole list of this particularly of a lot of the Hollywood bands that we love, seeing them in Hollywood or in Los Angeles, in
Mm,
particular, a lot of those clubs that never get talked about as part of the Hollywood scene, like seeing Guns N' Roses at the Troubadour or seeing uh, the Four Horsemen at English Acid, or seeing Faster Pussycat at the Roxy, or LA Guns at Scream, or even
mm,
Jane's Addiction at Scream, or Junkyard at at Raji's. All these like classic flyers. I dig up and see these bands playing these clubs that if you weren't a part of that scene, you didn't know what the fuck Raji's was. You
yeah,
didn't
no
know what
shit.
English Acid was. You didn't know what Exposure 54 was another one. I mean, people knew Whiskey, Roxy, Cazares, Troubadour, but I mean, I've just discovered over the years there were so many fucking clubs, Club Lingerie, Coconut Teaser, English Ass Cat House, like I said, English Acid, Exposure 54, Scream, Raji's, White Trash a Go Go. I mean, these were all these very like clubs, like places like you and I would know, like almost like a Bernie's,
Mm,
shit like that. Just a room, a
mm,
basement of a bar. But Scream was like the base. I guess there were two locations of that Scream club, but one of them in the one there's an LA Gun show from like late '86 at one of the Scream locations, and it's the one that was the basement or the downstairs, something like that, of an old hotel that actually a scene from Less Than Zero. There's a scene where Robert Downey Jr. is sitting on the stairs, and there's like people are walking over him and shit. So it was that same location, Scream location.
mm,
So that one, I'm just gonna generalize that, like seeing all those like I said, back it's like Salty Dog at the Whiskey, or you
oh
know,
yeah.
um. So there's that. Then I know I mentioned the Junkyard Dangerous Toys in '89. Well, in '90, Junkyard did a tour with this particular band that was their first tour, the Black
Oh
Crows.
yeah, I've heard about that one. Yep.
Yeah, Junkyard and Black Crows in 1990.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome. Um, the Runaways with when Cherie Curry was still in the band. That would have been awesome to see.
Yeah.
Here's one for me that there were two very important versions of this band, and I would like to have seen both versions. There's Leonard Skinner before the plane crash, and when Ed King was still playing guitar in the band, and then when Steve Gaines, who kind of took Ed King's place, um, that version also. Steve Gaines was one of the people that was killed in the plane crash. So those two versions of Skinner back then, uh, Van Halen on the 1984 tour, just before Roth left, whatever.
Mm,
Same reason to hear all the Roth catalog up to that point.
yeah.
I mean, still would have been cool to see him like in like '81 or even back before they got signed, like somewhere in Pasadena or at Gazares, because they
Mm,
were a huge Gazares band. Another one I got, this almost made my top five. Um, Motley Crue's first show at the Starwood, which was another '70s, early '80s popular Hollywood spot. And that was with, they were opening for when they had just become Y&T. So it was
man,
Motley Crue opening for Y&T at the
man,
Starwood. Yeah.
that'd have been sweet.
Um, yeah. Oh, would have been amazing. Montrose with Sammy Hagar. Sammy only did the first two albums, but seeing them, with Sammy, Denny Carmassi, their drummer, is like one of my all-time favorite rock drummers. UFO, man. And even, I mean, obviously the Shanker era, but I did like those first couple albums with Chapman playing guitar. Um, so yeah, UFO. This one's kind of specific, and I had to throw it in there. Led Zeppelin on the Physical Graffiti tour cycle, because that was the album for me. Um, Everything up to that point is what I would be most interested in seeing from Led Zeppelin, and
Mm,
especially seeing Bonham then could only have been amazing.
yeah.
Um, Circus of Power at the Cat in New York City.
Oh hell
That
yeah.
was like their fucking spot. Um, and actually, the Cat Club, there's on YouTube is the Black Crow set from that Junkyard tour, and it's a multi-camera like pro shot of just the Black Crows, and it was at the Cat Club. But I wonder, I'm like, fuck, is there Junkyard footage from that same show? Like, why wouldn't there be? But
Mm,
it's on YouTube. It's broke up into sections, but it's like it ends up being like their whole set from that tour. And damn, that was awesome. But to have seen Circus of Power there, Cat Club, that was like their haven, man. That would have been
yeah.
awesome. Um, that I mean, I'm looking through it, man. That's pretty much what I got. Yeah.
I on mine, okay, like one on my list, I could still have the chance because it's still torn. Lizzie Borden. I
Mm-hmm.
like to see Lizzie Borden. And Hank Williams. I like to have seen one of his shows.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, then I had Wasp on the first album.
Yo. Yeah. For me, Wasp anytime in the 80s.
It just well, because in the beginning, like the throwing the meat and the girls on
Yeah.
chains and shit. You know what I mean? That would have been so fucking awesome to see.
Yeah. And that could have been for me, like I said, seeing Wasp the Troubadour, where they
Mhm.
did that shit.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's a good pick. Yeah. Good honorable mention.
but I also had Faster Pussycat at the Cat House. Would have been
Oh yeah.
cool. Just
Yeah.
any show at the Cat House would have been good, but just Faster Pussycat because Tammy was co-owner. It would have been cool.
Mhm.
And then the Guns N' Roses at the Ritz, the one that was recorded,
Yeah. Yeah.
that would have been awesome. That's one of the best live performances I think too.
I agree.
That would have
Yeah,
been
that's
so
that's
fun.
a huge thing for me. I've talked about that many a time. That the recording of that, the when it came on MTV, like I
Yeah,
fucking videotaped that shit and would watch it religiously.
I know. It was so good, man. It's so just so raw sounding, man. Like Axel
Yeah.
sounded so bad, but it was so good. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
Slash was sloppy. It was so
Yeah.
good. Man.
Well, that show, that I think it was 2 nights. Um, it was them in Great White, and there's
They
footage
showed,
of Great White
yeah,
from that show.
yeah, I know. I remember that they showed that on MTV also.
Yeah, right. Well,
Yeah,
Guns N' Roses is even playing on Great White's shit. Like Adler, like even is using Great White drummer's drums, just takes it down to one bass drum, and it looks like Slash is using Mark Kendall's Marshalls. So yeah, so I even think the Great White dudes have even said in the past, like that's where they kind of knew, like, well, this is going to be the fucking band.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, that would have been insane to see. Yeah.
yeah. Fuck yeah. Then I had Motley Crue, Shot at the Devil tour.
Yeah.
They
That
played
was
the
it.
Vets on that album, Vets Memorial, and I remember, oh god, I was probably 10 years old, and these older kids were saying that they had tickets for it, and I'm like, let me buy a ticket, let me buy a ticket, and it was like $20 at 10 years old. Like, how am I gonna come up with
Yeah.
20 bucks?
Yeah,
You know what I
$20
mean? You
a
might as
lot
well
of money in
say,
like 84. Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, you might as well say $1 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I never forget them playing the vets and on Shout the Devil, dude. That would have been so good. You would have heard the
Mhm.
first two records and they were still
Yep.
like,
And
still in
that
their
whole
prime,
stage
man.
setup.
Yeah, dude, so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. That would have been an awesome one too. And that's one, that particular Shout at the Devil was Mike Corcione. His book actually just ended up coming out, his Tales from the Gutter book. And a lot of the pictures and stuff that in specifically in the book too, where and what he does on his YouTube channel, 1985 Road Dog, he tells stories from how he hung out with them for a handful of those shows. Shout at the Devil, like opening, that was opening for Ozzy also.
Hmm.
Um, and he was just saying how like there was a certain energy with them then, with them meaning Motley Crue, that was just fucking like he's saying like this real dark energy was kind of following them even when they played, but he said how amazing they were then too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to look up on who played with them. I can't remember. Like for some reason, I'm thinking it might have been like Helix or something. I can't
They
remember
were
who.
opening for Ozzy.
No, I'm talking about the Vets. Motley Crue
Oh, okay,
headlined
I
this
got
show.
you.
That's the
Okay.
show I'm thinking of.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, I can't remember for some reason. I think maybe Helix or something like that. Like, but that would have been so good, man.
That would have been at the time. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, anything
Who
else on
else you
that?
got?
That's all I got for honorable mentions. You got
No. Yeah, that's all I was. I mean, always we always think of shit after the
yeah, I
fact,
know.
but
Yeah,
I
see,
mean,
I
those are a
forgot
lot of
it.
the key ones to me.
Yeah, like I forgot about the GNR Ritz until you started mentioning all those small clubs and stuff. I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
that should have been so good. Like I like to have seen Ramones at CBGB's. Would have
Oh,
been cool.
yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah.
All right, album of the week. All right, this album came out in 1992. Like even though I seen them on this tour, like I wasn't really into them that much because in '92 I was kind of already transitioned over to like grunge or alternative or whatever at that point. Um, but then a few years later, I ended up buying this record, and it was so good. We've talked about this a lot. Wild Side, Under the
Yeah.
Influence,
Yeah.
great record,
Yeah.
man. I think
It,
that
I was
was
gonna say,
gonna,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say like I think if they would have came out about 3 or 4 years earlier, they would have been as big as Skid Row.
You're not. That's almost every interview and shit I watch on YouTube. People talking about that band and that album say exactly the same thing.
Yes,
Exactly the same
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
so good, man. Like,
Yeah.
and the show I seen at Rosa is on YouTube. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I've watched it a few times. Yeah.
yeah, that's oh man, they were so good.
Yeah. And that is a good album, man. Another kind of underrated one. Actually,
Yeah.
I think we all, a handful of us, brought that up when we did that underrated
Hmm.
episode. Um, Dude's vocals are amazing.
Yeah.
And like you said, man, I think they were very Skid Row-ish, but that West Coast Skid Row, if you will.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
They
man,
just
good
came out the
album.
wrong time, man.
Yeah,
Like I said, like I went and seen him 'cause at that time, I was saying like Shotgun Messiah and Tor was all coming around during that time, but it was already kind of that scene was already kind of
yeah,
dying out. You know what I mean?
yeah. They
Like
moved
which I
on.
which I still liked all that stuff, but it's like
Yeah,
but like I remember seeing this the CD at like a thrift store or something, and I was like, I'll go ahead and get it. And I still have it to this day. It's so good, man.
yeah, yeah. I still occasionally listen to it. Actually,
Yeah,
I mean, we know the "Hang On Lucy" video.
yeah,
Uh, I remember the one of the songs I like on it is the clock strikes, I think.
Yep, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Latin Sin is good.
But yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
That song's like the two ballads. You know, you're not big into ballads, but like I like ballads, and both of them's pretty good. But yeah, my favorite
Yeah.
ones is Hang On Lucy, which I think that was the first single,
Yeah.
and then Clock Strikes, Latin Sin. Yeah, that's like it's the whole thing, man. Like
And one of those ballads that they did a video for also,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
shit,
I know it's kind of hard not
Kiss Us
having the
Love,
songs right in front of us.
yeah, Kiss Us
Yeah.
Love Goodbye or something like that.
I don't think it was that one, but yeah, yeah. But back isn't there even a Nazareth cover song on that album?
No, they do a song called Hair of the Dog, but it's not a Nazareth.
It's not the same. Okay, well,
Yeah.
fuck.
But yeah, they
Um,
do have a song called Hair of the Dog on
yeah. Um, well, that album too was this is shit I read about them was I'm pretty sure it was recorded at 5150, which was, Eddie Van Halen's
there. Yeah.
studio. And there was even like that they were supposed to go on tour with Van Halen for I guess what Van Halen album would have been out then. Was it a for unlawful carnal knowledge, maybe?
Yeah, that might be it.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a big thing that they recorded it. I'm pretty sure it was at 5150. Um and that they were supposed to do I heard, that Van Halen tour, and for whatever reason it didn't happen. But yeah, they were another one, that came late 80s, early 90s Hollywood band, and
Mm,
they were called Young Guns before. And I think their sound kind of, I even want to say I read when they got signed was it was the label that made him change the name or wanted him to change the name.
mm,
Because that's the reason why I think they even went from Young to Wild Side, I think. So, but yeah,
yeah.
another album just came out too late, man.
Yeah. See, it's funny
Yeah,
because
definitely.
when I was at work the other day, listening to music, and they came on, and I was like, my album of the week. You know, we talked about it before, but figured here we go more into detail on it. But when it came out, like I said, I didn't really get into them. I like that. I like the single that they had. But it was all like, man, this sounds too 80s. It sounds dated. But if you listen to it now, it doesn't sound dated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like it sounds good, man. Like it just during that time, transitioning into different genres, and the scene was dying, and it's like and I'm glad I got to see him, even though I wasn't that big into him at that point. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've watched that YouTube show that you talked about from the Alrosa, and it looked like it was a good show.
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
remember it was fun.
yeah.
Anything else on that?
No, not that. Well, I do know the guitar player Brent Woods. He was the lead guitar player in that band. Has been playing in Sebastian Bach's band
Oh, really?
for a while. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. So that kind of made sense how he would have ended up, you know, because like I said, they were Skid Row-ish. I agree.
yeah,
Um, like the LA version of Skid Row, or the West Coast version of Skid Row. So
like they were considered like a hair band or whatever, but
yeah.
I thought they were like talented though, man. They're good musicians, good
Oh
vocals.
yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't like over the top cheesy like a lot of them were. You know what I mean?
No, maybe Young Guns was, but
Yeah.
when it became Wild Side, yeah. And that dude's vocals are legit, man. He's a
Oh yeah.
good
Yeah.
vocalist singer. Like I
Yeah.
said, those dudes could play too.
Mm.
Yeah, they could play. Yeah.
But yeah, like Latin Sin, man. It's like it's mellow at parts, then it gets heavy. Man, it's so
Hmm.
many transitions in it. It's such a good song, man. That's probably my favorite song in that
Yep. I remember that Clock Strike song being pretty
album.
good too.
Yeah, 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 me too. That's why I had that in my one of my favorite songs too. Like I listened the other day and I was going through and I'm like, man, this song's so good. So this song's so good too. But like it's good all the way through. There's songs, some songs better than others, but it's every song
Yeah.
is good.
Yep. Yeah, good pick, man.
Right on.
These are all, I mean, I'm glad you pick shit like that and talking about stuff that I don't think a whole lot of people, are even talking about anymore. And
Yeah.
hopefully, people watch this, bringing stuff up like that. I hope, people kind of get out of like, oh shit, I'm going to go check that out. Like
Mm,
it's been, someone might go, damn, it's been since 92 since I've heard that, I want to go check it out. Same thing with like Four Horsemen last week.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, we'll continue doing this segment. This is fun.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No, well, Chaka Zulu's tomorrow, maybe.
Sure. Yeah, you can stop
Yeah,
by.
yeah, yeah. It's Friday night. Be Friday night tomorrow.
Fuck yeah. As
Yeah,
long as it's not raining.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, right on.
Right.
All right. 5 and out. Thanks for watching.
5 and out.